Once upon a time, in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria, lived Adora and Kunle, a seemingly happy couple admired by many for their affluent lifestyle. Adora was a woman of elegance, with a heart as pure as the morning dew, while Kunle was known for his charm and generosity, providing his family with a life filled with luxury. Their home was a palace adorned with opulence, and their children, Tunde and Aisha, were the epitome of joy and innocence. Adora cherished every moment with her family, blissfully unaware of the shadows that lurked behind her husband's charming facade. Kunle, a man of mystery, he often embarked on business trips, leaving Adora and the children behind for a week at a time. Despite his frequent absence, when he returns, he takes them in chartered flights, on expense trips, and sometimes he comes home bearing lavish gifts with stories of faraway land. He sometimes give her large sum of money to shop for herself and buy anything she wanted for herself. But she always had the nudge to save it in a secret account for emergency if the need should ever come. Adora, trusting and content, never questioned her husband's endeavor, believing in the love and security he provided. One day, her rich friend called and was crying that some armed robber got wind that they had some gold jewelries and huge amounts of cash at home and came to steal it while pointing guns at them. And that same day, there was news of a senator being robbed in his home. Then, whispers began to spread through the neighborhood. Rumors of a notorious armed robber terrorizing the city began to circulate, and the description eerily matched Kunle's elusive behavior. Adora dismissed these whispers as a baseless gossip, refusing to believe that her beloved husband could be involved in such nefarious activities. But fate had a way of revealing the darkest truths. One day, Kunle returned home with a deep wound across his arm, blood staining his face and clothes. Adora's heart sank at the sight of her husband and his injury. Her concern mingled with a growing sense of uneasiness. Despite her plea to seek medical attention at the hospital, Kunle vehemently refused, insisting that their family doctor could tend to his wounds at home. Reluctantly, Adora called their family doctor. When he came, he closed the door and did not let Adora in on grounds that she could not bear the sight of what he was about to do to her husband. At that point, a nagging feeling of dread started to linger within her. Later that evening, as she watched the news while her husband was fast asleep, her worst fears were beginning to spur up. Reports of a fierce gun battle between the police and a notorious gang known as the KJ the Gurus flashed across the screen. Several individuals, including members of the gang, were severely injured in the confrontation. Adora's heart raced as she pieced together the fragment of information, her mind racing with suspicion. When her husband woke up, she asked him, her voice trembling with apprehension, and questioned him about his injury. His response was swift and rehearsed, claiming that he had been caught in the crossfire during a bank robbery attempt by unknown gunmen. Despite his convincing demeanor, Adora couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. The pieces of the puzzle didn't quite fit together, and doubt began to grow like a shadow in her heart, but she put on a brave smile on her face to hide her fears. She watched her husband closely, observing the subtle shift in his behavior. She started to search for a sign of deception hidden beneath the mask of composure. As days passed, Adora's suspicion only deepened, her mind plagued by haunting questions with no easy answer. She knew that confronting Kunle would unleash a storm of chaos upon their fragile marriage. Yet, the truth beckoned to her like a distant beacon in the darkness. One fateful evening, as Adora was tidying Kunle's room, she stumbled upon a hidden compartment beneath his desk. Curiosity overtook her, and she cautiously opened it, revealing a cache of weapons, stolen jewels, a gold pendant with KJD Guru inscribed on it, and bundles of cash. Shock and disbelief gripped her heart as the pieces of the puzzle fell into place. Kunle, her husband, the pillar of their family, was the infamous robber that the police had been hunting. Fear and panic consumed her as she struggled to come to terms with the horrifying reality. Her hands trembling as she clutched the incriminating evidence, her mind racing with thoughts of her children's safety and the implication of her husband's actions. Before she could process her next move, there was Kunle. He appeared in the doorway. His expression was dark and foreboding. Adora's blood ran cold as she realized the depth of his deception. With a chilling calmness, Kunle confirmed her worst fear, admitting to his criminal activities and threatening their consequences should she dare expose him. Adora stood there, paralyzed, torn between the love for her family and the overwhelming dread of what lay ahead of her. In that moment, she knew that her life would never be the same again. With tears streaming down her face, she made a silent vow to protect her children at any cost, even if it meant confronting the darkness that had tainted her once idyllic existence. As the shadow of deception closed in around her, Adora summoned the strength within her to face the terrifying truth head on. For in the heart of adversity, she discovered the strength within her, the strength and resilience of a woman, and she was determined to safeguard her children from this sinister grip of betrayal. As the weight of the situation bore down on her, Adora's mind raced with a flurry of thoughts, each one more urgent than the last. She knew she couldn't keep this revelation to herself, yet the prospect of exposing her husband filled her with a bone-deep dread. But her children were innocent and unsuspecting. They never knew that their father was a thief, and they don't deserve a life like this. And so she decided to free them from the shadow of their father's crime. With hands trembling, Adora looked at her husband with a heavy heart and with a burden of the knowledge. Kunle's gaze bore into her, a silent warning of danger that lurked beneath the surface. Adora went back to keep the evidence she saw. But her husband's eyes bored deep into her body. But Adora refused to be cowed by his threats. She had the duty to protect her family even if it meant facing the unimaginable. Gathering her resolve, Adora squared her shoulder and met Kunle's gaze with steady determination. Then she said, "I won't be a part of this," her voice quavering with resolute. "I won't let you drag our children into this world of deceit and danger." Kunle's expression darkened, a flicker of anger flashing in his eyes. Then he said, "You have no idea what you are getting yourself into, Adora," he warned, his voice laced with venom. "Do you really think you can stop me?" Adora held her ground, her resolve unwavering. Then she said, "I will do whatever it takes to protect my children," she declared, her voice unwavering despite the fear that gripped her inside. For a moment, the air between them crackled with tension, each silently daring each other to make the next move. But in the end, it was Adora who broke the stalemate, turning to her heels and striding out of the room with a heavy heart. In part 2, let's see what will happen between Adora and her husband Kunle. Will she report him to the police? Will she run away, or will she keep quiet and remain in the marriage? Let's meet in part 2 of this story.